Bah écoute, voilà, on passe au direct.
Ah, vas-y.
Coupe le son de ton truc peut-être.
Bah justement,
Ah, donc c'est le tien qui a fait ça.
Ouais. Ouais, coupe le son, Manu, de ton PC peut-être.
Là, c'est lancé là ?
Ça va se lancer.
Et il y a Vincent qui demandait le lien du live aussi.
Ça, je lui ai donné.
Tu vas vas-y, envoie-le-moi. Ah merde, ouais. Il y a beaucoup de bruit. Bah l'écho là, je pense, c'est ça. Ah si, oui, c'est bon. Ouais, je peux connecter par contre. Ah ouais, ça c'est ici.
Ouais, c'est ici.
T'as tu vas le...
Je crois qu'on va.
Bien sûr, ouais.
Et c'est en ton nom.
Ouais, mais c'est pas grave, tu vas semer le trouble. Ah. Je me déroule. Et Erwan, tu vois le
plateau.
Hein
Le plateau.
Le document Word, en fait, juste à côté. C'est bah, si tu sens à un moment que j'ai oublié des trucs ou quoi, n'hésite pas à me dire. Voilà, c'est des machins que je voulais dire. Je pense pas. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. So, I'm Johan, and here is Manu. You can see him. We're gonna do our first live video tonight. So, we're gonna talk about the first two videos you probably saw and answer some questions you had. Those questions were posted on BGG and elsewhere. We're gonna talk about it. So first we can maybe do a quick recap. Well, first know that those live videos will be done every week. So every Thursday at the same time probably. And we are gonna answer the other questions you could have on the other videos that we've made. Bonjour à tous. Maybe I'm gonna do it a little bit in French also for our French viewers. So don't be afraid, I'm gonna switch back to English just afterwards. So, bonjour à tous. Vous avez probablement compris, je suis Johan et il y a Manu derrière l'ordinateur. On va faire une petite vidéo live pour répondre à des questions qui ont été posées, que ce soit sur BGG ou ailleurs. Sur les deux premières vidéos de partie plus ou moins des vidéos d'explication de règles que nous avons fait sur Batman. Il y aura d'autres lives comme ça qu'on va faire tous les jeudis soirs pour répondre aux questions à propos des autres vidéos qu'on a fait, des autres petites vidéos. Aujourd'hui, on va répondre à celles sur les fiches de héros et puis on va probablement passer sur quelques autres questions qui ont été posées. So, back to English. Now, let's see the heroes boards. Here, and there. Oh, fell down. You can see a heroes board. Everyone can see it. This is Batman, as you probably noticed. Let's put him around there. This is his heroes board and Batman's hero sheet. So on the heroes board you can see the actions here represented in blue and the defense and the reroll, which are not actions, that are in gray. So the actions are the melee attack, the range attack, the manipulation, the thought and the movement. Reroll and defense, as we just said, are not actions. Also, part of the heroes board, you have the zones to put the energy cubes. So the energy cubes are the red cubes, like this. You can see on the hero sheets of the heroes, of course, their life points total. For Batman, it's 11. So Batman has 11 cubes at the beginning of the game that he will have in his reserve zone, the zone where the active cubes are. Those cubes are used to perform actions and reroll and defense. At the beginning of the game, the setup of the mission will tell you how many of these cubes will be put in the fatigue zone. In the fatigue zone are the cubes that you will recover every turn, whether you are active or resting. You will recover a certain amount of cubes, different if you are active or resting, from the fatigue zone. And there is the wound zone, but this zone will be used only when you are hit, wounded, and the cubes in this zone won't be used anymore unless you don't have any cubes left in your fatigue zone when you are resting or recovering cubes. Then you will recover them from the wound zone. But we'll see this a little bit later. So let's get a closer look at the hero sheets. On them you can see the characteristics of the actions. For example, you can see that Batman has a characteristic for his melee attack of a red dice. So this means when I perform an attack with Batman, for example here on an O, a melee attack has to be performed in the area of the attacker, of course. I will spend an amount of cubes that I will determine. I can never spend more cubes for the action than the exertion limit written here on the characteristic of the attack, or of the action, sorry. So for this attack, if I decide to spend 2 cubes from the reserve zone on the melee attack, I will get 2 red dice that I will roll in order to get successes to neutralize my opponent. This works the same for the range attack, the manipulation, the thought. The movement is a little bit different, as every cube I will spend in my movement characteristic will grant me an amount of move points that I will use to move from an area to another. The reroll, for every cube I will spend in the reroll, I will get 1 reroll. That's pretty obvious. And in the defense, for every cube I will spend here, I will get an orange dice, because this is the characteristic of my defense, and I will get to roll it when I'm attacked. So I spend this only when I'm attacked, when I have to perform a defense, actually. You can also see the skills of the hero. So the skills are here, you can see them all around the hero. The skills are put, you noticed that some skills are not put in the same areas depending on the heroes. There is no special place to put a skill, but the martial art skill, this one with the kimono, is a skill that is only used when the hero or the character performs a melee attack. So it is put just beside the melee attack characteristic for the player, for it to be easier for the players not to forget it. The same is for combo, because Batman has a combo skill. And you can see next to the manipulation skill there is... You switched? You can see the munition specialist skill, which is only used when performing a manipulation and when it is specified in the mission, of course, otherwise it's not used. And the same goes for every skill. So if it's associated with a specific characteristic, with a specific action or defense, then it will be put just beside. But some skills, for example, pushing limits, that you can see here, this skill can be used with every action, actually. So it is just next to the hero, it's himself, to Batman himself. And the trait, also, here moral code, meaning that Batman cannot use any little weapon, is put next to the hero, because it is not related to a specific action. It is just his trait, actually. You can also see here again, so let's see that, the utility belt size of the hero, which is 4, and this means that at the beginning of the mission, Batman will get to take every Bat gadget he has and choose among them a number of Bat gadgets with a total size, total Bat gadget size of 4. Here, the Bat grappling hook has a size of 2, the Batarang a size of 1, and the taser gun a size of 1 also, which gives you a total of 4. So Batman has his utility belt for this mission. But I can change in the next mission. I never have to use the same ones. I get to choose them depending on which strategy I want to use. You can also see the size of Batman and his monies. So, the size is the hindering the enemies will suffer when leaving the area of Batman. So, this enemy wants to move out of Batman's area, he will be hindered because of the size of Batman. And the menace means that when this enemy will want to perform either a ranged attack action or manipulation or a thought, so those three actions, the enemy will be hindered by the menace of Batman. Meaning this owl will get once less success of his range attack, manipulation or thought action. Let's see also the move point bonus for the first movement. Let's see here the move point bonus for the first movement. You can see it here. Batman has a move point bonus of 2, which means when he is active and only when he is active, if he is resting, no movement, no action at all, he will just recover energy cubes. So when Batman is active, for his first movement, he will get a free 2 move points, which means he can just leave the area of his enemy by spending 1 move point plus 1 extra move point because of the size of the enemy. This here, it's quite small, I put it closer to you. Here and here is the move point bonus, but depending on the encumbrance of Batman. You can see here, if Batman has a total encumbrance of 4 or more, he will have only 1 move point bonus for his first movement instead of 2. And if Batman has a total encumbrance of 6, which is the maximum for him, he won't have any move point bonus at all. So this doesn't mean Batman cannot move, but he will have to pay every move point he wants to have. I think for the heroes board, that's pretty much it. I don't know if there is any questions, but in the meantime, I think we can talk about the command skill. We've got some questions about it, so let's get some clarifications. Yeah. Commissioner Gordon, has 2 command skill. A henchman command skill and an elite command skill. The henchman... I'm gonna...
The henchman!
Henchman! Thank you, Manu! You're the best. The henchman command skill has a level of 3 and the elite command skill is level 2. So, this means during the setup, Commissioner Gordon will get to choose 2 tiles because he has 2 command skill. He will get to choose 1 henchman tile among all the tiles of the heroes, all the heroes tile he owns, and 1 elite tile among all the heroes elite tiles he owns. So, as an example, I chose the GCPD officers with baton here, and you can see their level here. When there is only 1 mark, let's say, it's an henchman level tile, and when there are 2 marks like this, I don't know if you can see it, it's an elite level tile. I can give you the name. Those are the SWAT with rifle. A little bit closer. Alright. So, as I have a level 3 henchman command skill, with my henchman tile, I will get 3 henchmen. Gordon, let's say, will start the mission here, in this area. So, the 3 henchmen will start the mission in the same area. And the 2 elites, the SWAT with rifle, will start the mission in this same area also. So Gordon will get 2 SWAT with rifle because of his level 2 elite command skill. If, let's say, Gordon would have started the mission in the subway, there would have not been enough space to put every miniatures. So the other miniatures would have to be in an adjacent area, like this. How those skills work? Let's get some energy cubes and put them in Gordon's reserve zone. When I want to activate a tile, I will just have to put 1 cube to perform an automatic thought. The automatic thought is used to activate a tile from the command skill. I can only do this once a turn. Alright, once per tile I have. So Gordon can do this twice a turn, once for the SWAT with rifle, because I chose them, and once for the GCPD officers with baton. So, this is an automatic thought. I don't have to roll any die. I just spend 1 cube in the thought, and I will get to activate all the miniatures, all the characters from the tile I command. I will choose, for example, the GCPD officers. They will get to be activated just like the character tiles of the Overlord, of the villain. Sorry.
Yes, the Overlord, it's Conan.
Ah, yeah, that's it. I mix them all the time. So, they will have a move point bonus also, just like the heroes have, that you can see here, just above the boot. So they will be able to perform 2 free movements, and they can also get extra move points. For this, I will have to spend energy cubes in my thought action characteristic. So I'm limited to up to 6 energy cubes in thought, which is pretty nice. So I will get to spend a lot of cubes if I want it, but I have to keep some in order to be able to defend myself, for example, or defend my men. So 1 cube will get me 1 extra move point. This works the same for the rerolls and the defense, but we'll just get to it. Just as the villain's characters, those characters, or those tiles, will be able to perform an action. So first they can move, then they can perform an action other than movement, then they can move again. So if I perform my move by spending my free move point bonus, during my first movement step, during the second one, the miniature that has moved already won't get this bonus, but I can still pay for extra movement. And if I didn't move during the first move step, after performing my action, I will be able, just like the villain still, to perform a movement during the second movement step, and then I will get my move point bonus for the first movement, because it's not related to the movement step, but really the first movement the miniature performs. If that's clear, let's get to the actions. So here, the ones I chose can perform a melee attack, a range attack by rolling dice, so they can have successes. They can also perform automatic manipulations and automatic thoughts, but no complex manipulation or complex thoughts, because they don't have any dice in their characteristics. Alright? So after moving, I can perform an action which is basically an attack, a melee attack or a range attack, and then move again. Once this is done, I can do another automatic thought in order to activate my SWAT with rifles. Those work the exact same way. What did I want to say? I wanted to talk about the rerolls and the defense for them. So, for Commissioner Gordon, I think you know how this works. I spend 1 cube in reroll to get a reroll for Gordon, or 1 cube in defense to get a yellow dice that I can reroll for free for Gordon still. But if one of my men is attacked, for example this officer, GCPD officer, I can try to defend him by spending a cube or more, if I want, in my thought action. So everything I want to do for my men, for the characters I control with my command skills, will be done in the thought action characteristic. Alright? When I want to perform a defense for this man, I will spend 1 cube because I just want 1 die, and I will get 1 orange die. This is given by the command skill. Actually, it's always an orange die. So I get to roll it and get successes or not to defend him. And if I got no successes at all, I'm not really happy about it, and I can reroll it, just like I would do for a hero. But I won't spend my cube in the reroll, but in the thought action characteristic, always. And I can reroll it, get no successes, and this one will just go away.
You're not a key.
No, not at all. This is pretty much it about the command skills, I think. But there's another skill that is a bit touchy, the wall breaker. If I'm right, how does the wall breaker skill works? First, let's see how does it look. Bane, venom injected here. Alright, you can see it. Has the wall breaker skill level 1. This means that Bane, venom injected, will be able to break level 1 walls. Those walls levels are given by the game board's rules. Those rules are at the end of the missions booklet. After the last mission, you will be able to find here the game board's rules. You can see the elevation levels of every area of the board. You can also see the boundaries. Could they be white, orange, special, that we will see, or walls? This will be important for us. And also the special moves you can perform. Special moves here on the subway station, or falling and climbing from different elevation levels, of course. So now that I've seen, let's get a closer look at it, maybe, that here, this wall around this small habitation, let's say, here the wall is level 1. So in order to break through it, I will need the wall breaker skill at least level 1. If I have a level 2 wall breaker skill, this is fine. I can break this wall also, but I can also break level 2 walls. With a level 1 wall breaker, I can only break through walls level 1, of course. So this here, you can see it, is a level 1 wall. Bane can move through it, can break through it by performing a simple move and add 2 move points to the movement cost. So here I have no enemies in my area. In order to break through this habitation, I will need to spend 1 plus 2, so 3 move points. Alright? Bane has a move point bonus for his first movement of 3, so that's basically free for me. Of course, if I haven't moved before. When I break through a wall, I will put a token. Do we have this token somewhere? I guess we do. Let me look for it. Oh, yeah, of course. I'm back in a few seconds. Just looking for the token. Alright. So, once Bane has moved through a wall, I will put this token, the broken wall token, on the wall they just broke through. This means that now every miniature can just spend 1 move point in order to go from this area to this area, or the opposite, from this one to this one. And also, those 2 areas now share a line of sight, a clear line of sight, which means that they can shoot at each other, not the areas, miniatures in those areas can shoot at each other, of course. Did I miss something about wall breaker? I think that's quite clear, but talking about clear line of sight and stuff like this makes me think that we can explain this a little bit more, I guess. So let's talk about maybe first the boundaries. You can see on the map that there are white area boundaries basically everywhere and orange area boundaries. I don't know if you see them well. At the entrance here of the habitations, at the entrance of the subway, and here inside the habitations. So the white area boundaries just delimit the areas and tells you that you just have to spend 1 move point to get from an area to the other one. The orange area boundaries are basically the same, but in addition they say that 2 areas separated by an orange area boundary will share a clear line of sight between them. So Batman and Bane can shoot at each other. This is because, let's jump to line of sight. In order to have a line of sight, you normally have to look at the line of sight markers in the areas. So a lot of areas have line of sight markers that you can see here, here, there. And in order to determine if there are line of sight, clear line of sight between two areas, you will have to take the two line of sight markers of the two areas and draw an imaginary line between them. I will use this laser, that's much simpler. So, from this to this, I think you can see them. The imaginary line doesn't cross any obstacle. The obstacles are walls that we've seen in the board game's rules and the promontories. There are no promontories here, but on other boards there are promontories, which are basically huge elevated areas in the middle of a less elevated area. Alright. So, for the line of sight, determining the clear line of sight, I will need to have a line between those two line of sight markers that doesn't cross any obstacles, so walls or promontories. But there are some other ways to get a clear line of sight between two areas. For example, the orange area boundary tells you that even if you can't draw this specific line of sight, because here you can see there are no line of sight markers at all in this area, so you normally cannot draw any line of sight to this specific area. But as there is an orange area boundary, this area and the area separated by the orange area boundary always share a clear line of sight. Sometimes you can notice that some areas have two line of sight markers, like this one for example, and there are other examples that you can find by yourselves. This means that you just take one line of sight marker to draw your line of sight. If you take one of them and the line you draw doesn't cross any obstacles to another line of sight marker, then this area has a line of sight. So you always draw the line from the one that is best for you. So those two line of sight markers are just here for that. I think that I told everything about the line of sight.
Do you want we talk about special movements or later in another video?
That can be done maybe when we talk about movement. Or do we want to do it now? But I think it's best to talk about it when we get to movement.
We've got a question from Yann McNear. On the hero's turn, can they take turn activating each heroes? Like, can Batman attack a guy, then Catwoman move, then Batwoman moves?
So, can you repeat please? Sorry. Alright. Let me read that. Alright, so it's just about the hero's turn in general. So, you're right, that's maybe not super intuitive, but you will see when you get to it, it's really, really simple. So let's say Batman and Jim Gordon are active, are both active. Oh, sorry. Here and here, both are active. Do you see them both? Cool. when they are active, they will be able to perform movements. So if Jim, he will start because they just jointly decided that Jim would start. Jim will decide to shoot at an enemy first. So he will perform a range attack, spending 1, 2 or more energy cubes in his range attack characteristic. Roll 2 orange dice plus the bonus dice given by his range weapon, because that's something quite important, but we'll get to it later in another video. You need to have a ranged weapon in order to perform a ranged attack. Alright? Remember this. So Jim Gordon will shoot at this one, then he can decide to move for this movement, even if it's not the first action, it's his first movement, so he will get his move point bonus, or he can just decide to let Batman move, perform an action, whatever he wants. Then Gordon will be able to do other actions later in this same turn. So Gordon just shot, but he missed. Then Batman will decide to move, to take action. So he will go to the area of the owl and decide to perform a melee action, a melee attack. So he will punch the owl. Batman is super strong, so the owl gets no chance at all. Just telling you. And Gordon can now do other things. If Batman would have missed, maybe Jim would have tried another shoot, but there's no need anymore, so he can just decide to move elsewhere. Then he can perform other actions, or Batman can act again. So the heroes will be able to perform actions while they want. So during their turn, they will perform one action at a time, but one hero can perform 2 actions, then another hero can perform 1, then the first hero can perform again an action, as we've just seen here. The only limit is when the hero decide they want not to perform any more actions for this turn, because they want to keep some energy cubes in order to perform defenses during the villain's turn, or maybe just to be able to do better things on further turns. Because if you spend all your cubes during the first turn, then you will have to rest, and it might be complicated. So the heroes will be limited by their will, because they will want to stop their turn at some point, or they will have to if they don't have any cubes left in their reserve zone. Because if it's the case, they cannot perform any more actions except for the free movements, or some free actions are like dropping an item, some things like this. I hope I answered this question.
Another question
Alright.
from
Tu as un autre papier.
from Frank. Hi there. There is a skull symbol on the Batman board. I do not understand this symbol and can't find any description.
Okay, this skull symbol, this one I guess, here is the moral code trait. So this is a trait, you can see it just before the skills in the rulebook. This trait tells that Batman cannot use any lethal weapon. So those weapons are represented, I can show you some of them here. Let me find some, I will show you. Some weapons are lethal And this is represented by this pictogram. Can you see it? Yes, more or less. So this pictogram is a skull, and Batman on his sheet has the moral code, which represents a skull crossed, meaning that Batman can never use items with the skull, little items. This doesn't mean that Batman cannot carry them. He can still have a gun on his belt in order to give it to Red Hood, for example, who doesn't have the moral code trait. But Batman can never use a machine gun or something like this, because that's the way Batman is. Another question that I've been given is during the resting stance. So, about the movement in the resting stance. The heroes at the beginning of their turn will choose either to be active or resting. If Batman is active, he will get to recover 2 energy cubes from his fatigue zone to his reserve zone. And if Batman is resting, he will get to recover 6 energy cubes from his fatigue zone to his reserve zone. Always. So if Batman is active, he will get 2 energy cubes and will be able to perform any actions he wants. If he moves, he will get his move point bonus for the first movement, and etc, etc. He will be able to perform actions just like we saw. But if Batman is resting, he will recover 6 energy cubes from his fatigue zone to his reserve zone. Here he can only recover 3, so he will get the other 3 from the wound zone to the fatigue zone. And while he is resting, he won't be able to do anything, just free actions. But free actions are given by missions or by specific skills, like counterattack, retaliation, stuff like this, which specifically tells you those are free actions. But the move point bonus for the first movement is not a free action. You have to perform a movement, even if you don't pay for it. This is an action that is not considered as free. So while resting, Batman cannot, and Batman and the other characters, the other heroes, is not able to perform any movement at all. Yeah. So, I think we answered basically all of your questions for tonight, today, depending on where you are. So, I hope that helped you, and I will tell you to join us again on next Thursday, evening, afternoon, whatever. We will talk about the next 2 videos, and if you have questions about them, or if you have other questions, you can post them on BGG or under this video maybe, but on BGG we are sure to see them. Maybe another question?
Is there an easy way to see elevation on the board game map?
That's a good one. Alright, so the question is there an easy way to see the elevation on the board game, on the map, on the board? Yes, there is. Here you can see, so you can always find the elevation levels of the boards, of the areas in the board game rules, and you really have to refer to this. This is always true, but you can see it quite easily directly on the board by looking at the line of sight markers in the areas. Here you can see on the level 1 of the floor, basically, you can see the line of sight markers or have a circle, an unfinished circle around them. I don't know if you can see them from here, the quality is not the best. But that's everywhere on the floor on the level 1 elevation. On the elevators, on the stairs, you can see the circle is complete, which means that those two areas are one level higher than the floor. And everywhere around the map, around the board, the circle around the line of sight marker is a little bit wider, so it's a little bit further from the center, which means that it's again one level higher than the stairs, so 2 levels higher than the floor. Which means if you want to perform a fall, for example from here, this level 3 in elevation area to the floor, which is level 1, you will get to roll 2 yellow dice and get here 2 wounds. We'll talk a little bit more about the special movements, as we said when talking about the movement in general. I'm sorry I've talked a little bit about it, but just remember that if you want to see a little bit easily see the elevation level of the areas, you can just look at the line of sight markers. But be careful, they do not always tell you the truth. For example, in the dead-end map, dead-end board, to some elevation levels, there are 7 different elevation levels, so some are just have the same circles around them, the highest one actually. So please always refer to the game board rules when you want an elevation level. But this is a quick reminder. I think we're done for today. So again, I invite you to join us on next Thursday and to post your questions, if you have any, on the 2 next videos that we will publish on Friday and Tuesday, if I'm not wrong. You can post your questions on BGG. We will read them and answer them then. So now I just have to wish you a good night, a good afternoon, and I think Manu will tell you the same, because he's not the grumpy man you can think.
See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye!